don't know where he is. And I know if he made it out of that building, he would have called me up immediately. Well, it's just hard to know that 15,000 families or more than that are just destroyed for no reason.
This conflict was begun on the timing and terms of others. It will end in a way and at an hour of our choosing.
To our viewers joining us on the NBC television network and on MSNBC Live, good day to you once again. I'm Brian Williams. This is our continuing NBC News coverage of the attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. We want to, at the bottom of the hour here, bring you up to date on the very latest developments that we're following. President Bush has now seen the devastation in New York up close. He visited the wreckage of the twin 110-story towers of the World Trade Center brought down by terrorists on Tuesday. Mr. Bush used a bullhorn to address rescue workers who cheered him on and then chanted USA. Airlines are struggling to resume flying. Boston's Logan Airport, where two of the aircraft were hijacked on Tuesday, remains closed. So is Reagan National Airport in Washington because of its proximity to landmarks like the Pentagon, the White House, and the Capitol. However, the New York area's three major airports reopened late this morning. That's after a scare yesterday. Suspected hijacking attempts at Kennedy and LaGuardia were determined to be unfounded. The FBI has released the names of 19 men it says hijacked 4 aircraft on Tuesday and presumably died when those planes crashed. Officials say some of the hijackers had pilots training. Many of them had lived in Florida or New Jersey. Again, we've been talking about the president's visit to New York. It was dramatic, and it was under the heaviest canopy of security in recent memory. The president right now is in New York. We just can't tell you exactly his location. He is at a staging area, we believe, for FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and rescue workers, which will be his last stop on the ground in New York. But every possible precaution to guarantee his safety has been taken. The New York area was pelted by rain overnight and into this morning. You see there the kind of lingering but limited plume of smoke and dust in lower Manhattan. It is much more pronounced on this shot from across the Hudson River, with the afternoon sun now reflecting off the buildings. We want to show you some of the president's remarks. He was handed a bullhorn down in the pit where the Trade Center towers once stood, and he addressed the workers there.
Thank you all.
Sorry, go ahead, Paul. Lots of boom. Go ahead, got it.
I want you all to know it can't go any louder. I want you all to know that America today is on bended knee in prayer for the people whose lives were lost here, for the workers who work here, for the families who mourn. This nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon. The nation sends its love love
Harry, by
and
pushing me.
compassion
No, sorry.
to everybody who is
Cross the
here.
line on that one.
Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for making the nation proud. And may God bless America.
President George W. Bush in Lower Manhattan. He continued his walking tour again, surrounded by very, very heavy security today. We are joined to talk about this by our Washington bureau chief and the moderator of Meet the Press, Tim Russert. Tim, let's talk about how Mr. Bush has come into this job, has come into his role as commander-in-chief and leader now of a nation that's been terribly wounded.
Brian, what a difference a week makes. The last time we spoke a week ago about something other than this crisis, we were talking about the Bush tax cut, the Bush economy. And there was blood in the water, the Democrats seizing on the Social Security Trust Fund, this rancor and partisanship. George W. Bush, the year anniversary of his election coming up, was he a legitimate president? And on and on and on. That is just so far away from any American's mind right now, Democrat, Republican, or independent. That was the magic of the prayer service today. The president extremely eloquent. And afterwards, Democrat Bill Clinton, Republican Bob Dole, Democrat Jimmy Carter, Republican Jerry Ford, embracing each other, sending a message to this country and the whole world, one country, indivisible. I talked earlier this morning, Brian, about Al Gore and Bill Clinton. Al Gore stuck in Buffalo, New York, of all places, driving his way down to this prayer service, called Bill Clinton. He said, drive over to Chappaqua. He arrived at 2:30 a.m. He gave him a late dinner, and they flew down together on a military plane. An estrangement had been going on there since the election, and now that seems to have resolved its part. And wait till you hear this. On Monday, Brian, the president of the AFL-CIO, John Sweeney, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Tom Donahue, a joint press conference on what labor and business can do together for America. We couldn't get those two gentlemen together on Meet the Press to talk about issues. And now they are demonstrating exactly the resolve that we need in this country. It will not be easy. This is an elusive enemy. We've talked about it before. It's going to take days, weeks, months. But I have never in my lifetime seen the country so unified. When I saw those hard hats yelling USA, USA, I remembered 30 years ago, it was the hard hats against the headband college kids fighting over the war in Vietnam. Not today. Arm in arm. They are resolved to try to deal with this war on terrorism and yes, bring some kind of pain to the people who destroyed our fellow Americans.
Tim, so no one is under any illusion. What is America in for here on what's being called, without anything tangible, a campaign ahead?
You heard Colin Powell today, Brian, talk about growing up as a soldier where you knew who the enemy was, you knew where they were, what you had to do was conquer them. We don't know exactly who this enemy is and where they are. We have a better and better idea, but they're hard to find. They're sneaky, they're elusive. And it's going to take a lot of coalition building. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, moderate states that tilt towards the West in the United States could be destabilized in a moment if, in fact, they were seen within their own countries by some people as going too far, too pro-American. Pakistan, a nuclear power. We desperately need their intelligence, perhaps even their basing, to go into Afghanistan if that's what we choose. If we destabilize Pakistan, a nuclear power, what could happen to those nuclear armaments? This is a global chess game, extremely difficult. The president, the vice president, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Director of the FBI, going to meet all weekend, sorting through this, plotting strategies, playing war games, trying to figure out how do we have an instant strike or some sort of a retribution to know people that we are not going to put up with this, but it's not going to stop with one. In 1998, we launched 60 Tomahawk missiles into Osama bin Laden's training camps, and it only emboldened him. It's going to have to be real and sustained and painful. It's going to have to be extended over an extremely long period of time, and yes, it may very well risk an enormous amount of American military power and American lives.
Tim, finally, it's not too early to talk about Sunday's lineup on Meet the Press.
Brian, we have an exclusive interview with a very important man, Dick Cheney. He was in the White House on Tuesday when the president was down in Florida. They spoke practically every second of that day. They had an open line between Air Force One and the White House Situation Room. As is his nature, he's been quiet and reserved all week long, has not spoken publicly. He'll break that silence Sunday on Meet the Press, the full hour. The military, economic, and emotional situation in our country and our world. We'll talk to Vice President Dick Cheney.
All right, Tim Russert, moderator of Meet the Press. We'll see you Sunday morning, if not before. Tim, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
We talked about the extraordinary security in Lower Manhattan today, and we have some videotape just to go over what viewers saw. This is under New York City Police escort, part of the parade of vehicles. The president was in one of two specially outfitted Chevy Suburbans, bulletproof, bomb-proof, followed by Suburbans, and note the rear door open with armed members of the Secret Service counter-assault or CAT team. Then the communications vans and vans carrying White House staff, dignitaries, and journalists. Extraordinary security precautions. As with any visit by a president to an American city, the usual was done overnight, like welding shut manhole covers, marking them as closed. But there were also some precautions for this visit that went beyond anything else, because security is heightened right now in this country. The president landed at an Air Force base in New Jersey. All along the way, when he's been airborne today, he has had fighter escort, including when during the helicopter portion of his trip. After disembarking from Air Force One, he choppered into Manhattan on Marine One. There were several decoy helicopters. They are taking nothing for granted as he travels throughout New York. Down in Lower Manhattan, Ashley Banfield standing by with some of those who were there when the president spoke by bullhorn to the workers who've been working so hard. Ashley?
Just gathered up this group of 7 from the City of New York Bureau of Fraud who are down on the site. Just as Tim Russert was saying, he's never seen such unity across the country. Mike DiOrio, the president, was just 2 or 3 feet away from you, said a couple of words. What'd he say?
Basically, he just got out of the motorcade and just kind of looked around. He was in complete awe of what the surroundings looked like, and he basically looked in the direction of the whole crew here and just, gave us a nod and was like, "You guys are doing a great job." And it was basically like, "Thank you, Mr. President," and just kept on our way because we have a lot of work to do.
And so is it back to business as usual right now?
Just about. We're going to take a little break because we've been down here all day. So we're going to go grab a bite to eat and probably head back.
Personal time right now.
Are you? That must have meant a lot to you, both in sort of national pride at least and in buoyancy in your spirits and the work you're doing.
I mean, it definitely is, because the simple fact that, you see the president on TV and he's speaking words, concerning the nation. But to see him in person and actually giving you personal support as he did to us 7, it was, it's something that makes you want to go back.
Guys, what was that like when he got out on the bullhorn and said, "I can hear you, and the people responsible for bringing these buildings down, they're going to hear us," and the chanting that started USA? What was that like?
Felt great, because basically this reiterated what Hillary said earlier about it's not just an attack on New York, it's an attack on the United States. And to actually have him come here personally, it just shows that he's for real. It stands for every firm, that everyone believes that, hey, he's doing the right thing, and we're all standing behind him.
You have a message for Americans about the work you're doing right now?
Just everyone's putting in a hand. Everyone is, there's no one that's not contributing to this whole thing. The fact that there's 7-hour waits for giving blood, and there's no selfishness in this whole thing. It's great.
All right, I just want to make sure I get all your names on TV, because I know that maybe your parents are watching. It's Ruben, Phil, Romer, Ray, Indy, Greg, and of course Mike. Thanks very much for talking to us, and stay safe, okay, when you go back in there. All right, you take care. Brian, just some of the first words from those who got close to the president on what it meant for them to have the commander-in-chief come down firsthand, put his own life at risk, to just give them those words.
All right, Ashley Banfield from Lower Manhattan, thank you. Thank you for your hard work over the hours today, on top of the day before and the day before that. Monica Novotny has also been covering this story down in Lower Manhattan. Monica?
Brian, we are at the Armory, where hundreds of hopeful family members have been lining up. They are checking patient lists here. They are also filling out missing persons forms, and now the personal details of their loved ones, the dental records, the birthmarks, the tattoos, the distinguishing features, all of those details are becoming clues for detectives here to a horrible puzzle that they are trying to piece together. I'm joined by Denise Matuza. Denise is looking for her husband. Denise, tell us where your husband was on Tuesday Thursday morning?
My husband was at work at Car Futures in One World Trade Center, 92nd floor.
When did you hear from him last?
I heard from him at 9:10. He called me at 9:10 that morning, and he said, "Hon, the building was just hit. It's exploding." He was in the stairwell, and he couldn't get down. He said the firemen told them to stay there and wait. They couldn't move. So he said he's going to try his best. He couldn't do anything after that. I checked my email, and about 10:15 there was an email on my computer saying, "I love you. The firemen are on their way. I'll be home soon. WAM," which is his initials. He signs it on everything he writes.
What were you thinking at that moment?
I was thinking that he would be home soon, and I was just devastated, hoping and praying that he wasn't hurt or anything. I waited throughout that day. Nobody called, nobody came, nothing. No, he wasn't ever coming off the bus. After that, I was just getting worried frantically.
Were you thinking that he must have made it down? He's got to be there.
Yeah, I thought he had to be down. I thought at the least he could have been in a hospital. I would have had a phone call to her in the middle of the night. I woke up the next day. There was no phone call. There was no nothing. He was nowhere to be found. Now today's already Friday. He's still nowhere to be found. I really want him to be home now. Now I couldn't stay home any longer. It was just constant phone calls, and I was getting nowhere with the phone. My brother-in-law Anthony and Tommy were both here yesterday. So I came down here with my brother Philip and my brother-in-law Tommy. We're both here. We've been doing the missing persons. We brought his dental records. We brought brain x-rays of his head.
Denise, let me just, we only have a few moments left. I want to flip and show the
children.
other picture, because I know you have 3 children. This other picture is with one of your sons. Just tell me, finally, what are you telling your sons at this point?
I'm just telling my sons that Daddy will be home soon, and he will be all right. If he's hurt, we'll take care of him, and I just want him to be home safely. And we will take care of him no matter what we have to do.
All right, Denise Matuza, thank you so much. We wish you the best. Good luck to you. Our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Brian, this is just one of the thousands of heartbreaking stories we're hearing today. Back to you.
Okay, one after another, everyone with photos looking for someone. Of course, the missing now number 4,700 in Lower Manhattan, absolutely staggering number. As the scope of this investigation continues to broaden, we are beginning as a nation, really, to realize just how complex and organized Osama bin Laden's terrorist network apparently is. But the question, where did it all begin, and why do they hate the United States as much as they do? NBC's Dateline's Jane Pauley spoke to New York Times reporter Judith Miller, who's been covering that part of the world for almost 20 years.
I don't think he's crazy. He is devious, he is clever, he is relentless, and he is patient.
But he is not a madman.
But he is not a madman.
Judith Miller is a reporter for the New York Times. She's covered the Arab world since 1983, when she was chief of the Times Cairo bureau. Is calling this even fanaticism too simplistic?
Fanatic is actually a very good word to describe them. They are highly motivated, they are highly disciplined, and we underestimate them at our peril.
Understanding them is critical, too. What would motivate a young man, average age of a suicide bomber is 22, to sacrifice his life as an unknown number did?
I think despair is partly responsible for this wave of suicide bombings.
Because they have nowhere else.
Because they have nowhere else to go. I mean, I have interviewed so many of these young people with so much hope for the future and so few prospects.
Especially the educated ones.
Especially the educated ones.
Dr. Gerald Post is a professor of political psychology at George Washington University. He's also a psychiatrist.
These people are distinctly not psychologically disturbed. In fact, interestingly, psychiatrically disturbed individuals are expelled from the groups because they're considered a security risk.
Many say it's a perversion of Islam, that the Quran condemns suicide. But radical Islamic sects do not call it suicide. In their interpretation, not to act is immoral.
The motivation for these acts is both religious and social. And the social motivation is a fusion of nationalism and radical Islam.
What did America do to unleash this hell upon us?
Well, according to Osama bin Laden, we defiled sacred Saudi and Islamic soil.
When?
In 1990 and 91, when we sent American and international troops to defend his country against Iraqi soldiers.
Just as the Soviets had defiled Islamic soil in Afghanistan in 1979. Financed in part by his money, the Mujahideen then drove the Soviets out. He needed an enemy.
But he needed an enemy, precisely, and he also had an enemy because the Palestinian people were being, quote, oppressed, and it was the duty of all Muslims to come and rescue them, and the Arab countries were being, quote, oppressed by autocratic, horrible rulers whose rule he also wanted to terminate, and he felt that by mobilizing and training Arabs all over the world and Muslims from all over the world, he could accomplish this.
Bin Laden and other radical factions of Islam frighten many in the Arab world too. They may not represent mainstream Muslims, but they are determined and well-financed. But Judith Miller argues that to persist in seeing them as crazy fanatics is dangerous.
We have to get rid of this image of these people as kind of wild-eyed fanatics who are disorganized and can't get their act together.
Why do we have to?
I think if we don't discard these images and stereotypes, we will underestimate the enemy.
What is it about the American psyche that may be undermining our own interests?
I think sometimes any democracy is ill-equipped because we are open. That is our trademark. We are ill-equipped to fight people who are looking constantly for our weaknesses, for our vulnerabilities, for ways in which we can be hurt.
Jane Pauley with Judith Miller, the veteran journalist of the New York Times who's covered that part of the world, and this individual in particular for some time now. For more on this, we are joined by a Pentagon veteran, a retired military Army colonel, and an expert on military affairs. Our analyst, Ken Allard, is with us. And Ken, a two-part question. Number one, how do you go about going after a guy like this? And number two, are we playing against our own rules? Are there rules in place that allow us to just do certain things?
Well, Brian, I've said on a number of occasions when we've talked about this before that fighting a network like this is, number one, not only tough for a democracy, it is tough for any bureaucracy, any hierarchy, any government to deal with a network. And just to shift the metaphor entirely, it gets a lot like trying to drain the swamp if your original objective is to kill the alligators. That is pretty much the kind of thing that we find ourselves dealing with right now. The second part of your question, though, I think is equally on point, which is the fact that how do we do something like this and still retain our essential identity as a democracy, as a free people? Because very clearly, when you're in a wartime situation, what we mean about civil liberties is not exactly the same thing. We've got to be prepared for a lot more intrusive searches, seizures, and any other number of things that are going to impact on our personal freedoms.
To listen to the President and the Pentagon, this, again, for lack of a better word, because we don't know what it is, this campaign we're about to embark on, perhaps, what is it going to entail? What, by definition, must it entail?
Well, the predominant thing that has to get understood here is the fact that this is very, very much a war in which intelligence has an even greater necessity than it does in a conventional conflict, because of the fact that everything that you do has got to be guided by intelligence. You are up against that kind of very, very agile, mobile network, and what it means is that your intelligence on him has got to be better than his on you. That's a very, very tall order, but what you've also got to be prepared to do is to look for the kinds of things that will give him away. What I've been struck by just in the investigation to this point has been how he has repeated some of the kinds of things that he did during the World Trade Center, or that we saw during the early World Trade Center bombing, as well as some of what we've seen Osama bin Laden and his group do personally. So the more that they take us on, the more opportunities there are to look for patterns and to look for mistakes. Inevitably, he is going to make some. That's the kind of thing that you want to take a look at, and that's also the thing that you want to target at some point.
And just how elusive? We keep hearing that word. Give me some perspective.
Well, he's not merely elusive. He is elusive to a degree that I don't think we've ever seen before. We always seem to be one step behind him and you're never going to get ahead of him until you get to the point that you're collecting much better human-based intelligence on him than we have to this point. But more than anything else, I think that what we've got to do is to be very patient. Anytime that you are after something like this, it takes the full resources of the government, and it takes a concerted campaign over time. The idea of impatience here is absolutely antithetical to what we're about.
And yet, it's that anger aspect in the American public right now that breeds and feeds impatience.
It really does, and in many respects, we have become, you know, the attention span deficit generation. And this is going to, I think, really show what we're made out of. Can we actually be patient here? Can we sort of forsake the instant replays that we're all so familiar with and actually get to the point that we are disciplined, patient, concerted over a long period of time?
Ken, this takes you a bit far afield, and secondly, it does call for a judgment, but I have to ask, because it's a topic of talk on talk radio, do you think, in your professional judgment, we have seen the last of what they have done to us?
No way. If there is anything that we should have learned from the record of his previous attacks, it is the fact that they tend to be staged, they tend to be coordinated, they tend to be repetitive. More than anything else, the thing I've been surprised at to this point has been the absence of that. One of the things that I think that was done that was a very wise move within literally minutes of learning what had happened on Tuesday was they shut down the nation's air traffic control system and grounded all the airplanes. We now found out yesterday that there were apparently, and I say apparently, a number of people that had very similar kinds of documentation and maybe similar kinds of intentions to the hijackers of those planes on Tuesday. So shutting that thing down made an awful lot of sense, but it simply heightens the responsibility of maintaining that degree of vigilance. It's such a cliche, but that's very much where we are.
Let's go to that decision to shut down air traffic. What's the genesis of a decision like that? Where does the germ of that idea come from? Is that part of a battle plan? Is it the idea of CIA, White House, National Security Council?
I don't think, Brian, unless I am very poorly informed right now, that that was the genesis of any specific kind of a plan. I think that it was a very common sense reaction to a situation that very clearly had gotten out of control. Like any attack, it takes a while to understand it, to characterize it, and react to it. But I think when all of a sudden they understood that they had seen 3 rogue aircraft out of control and they were out of contact with a 4th, that it simply made sense to assume that you were under attack with the idea that the nation's air traffic control system was now being used as a weapon. And it was simply, I think, a common sense decision to shut it down. And in retrospect, it makes perfect sense. Very wise move.
Is this like an iceberg in that we're only seeing the tip of security and most of what's going on we can't see by design?
Well, there are any number of reasons why we should think that. Simply because of the fact that my own home airport, which is, of course, Reagan National there in Washington,
right.
It is a very tough place to secure. And what many people are concerned about right now is the fact that there's no way. It's great that it's as convenient as it is. What's bad right now is the fact that it is as close to those key targets as it is. What do you do about that? And indeed, how are we going to configure ourselves for a long, protracted campaign against this form of terrorism? We've simply never seen anything like this before. He has brought the war home to us, and we're now dealing with those consequences.
On that note, we should end. Ken Allard, as always, thank you very much for this. A program note to our viewers: at midnight on the West Coast, 3 o'clock here in the East, this network will re-air the memorial service that was so emotional, that so many watched live, but so many were unable to see because of work schedules or otherwise. Again, that's 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern, but midnight on the West Coast. We also have this: the days of quick and easy air travel, and Ken just alluded to this, may very well come to an end soon. A poll shows that future airline passengers are willing to pay more and put up with more intense security if it will mean a safer flight. We will have more on these numbers as well, but here's an early look. 78% favor having armed federal law enforcement officers on every flight. 87% favor requiring all passengers to answer questions about their travel plans. El Al, the Israeli airline, does this. 95% supporting measures to require longer advance check-ins, and you see so on supporting fares 50% to pay for additional security. As we approach the top of the hour here, it's been a long day punctuated by great sadness, this National Day of Mourning as declared by President Bush. We'll pause here as we begin another hour of NBC News coverage of the terrorist attack on the United States.
WSFA Channel 12, Montgomery.
Good evening and welcome to Live at 5. I'm Michael Burdell.
And I'm Beth Jett. We'll continue to monitor national coverage